Hey everybody, Joe here. I'm back again, and it's the first Wednesday of a brand new month. You already know what that means. It's time for some pickups. What did I get in the month of December? Let's find out. Alright, kicking things off, something that I picked up that you probably already know about if you follow me on Instagram, and that is an Atari 7800. Big fan of the 2600, as you already know, and figure it'd be very cool to get my hands on a 7800 as well, try out some of those games. So, very excited to have that in the collection. And I did get some games for the 7800, and I'll show you them next. Got them right down here. Got 8 titles to show you here. We're going to start off. Got Asteroids, Karateka, Shoplifter, Touchdown, Xevious, Miss Pac-Man, Robotron 2084, and if I'm not mistaken, the pack-in game for the 7800 originally was Pole Position 2. Could correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure the initial pack-in was that very game. Now, sticking with Atari, as you know, I've been going absolutely nuts with Atari games lately. Here are a few more 2600 games to the collection. I got Pac-Man Jr., Phoenix, Millipede, Roadrunner. Believe it or not, I think the 2600 version is actually more fun than the version on the NES. Both were Atari games technically because the NES one was a Tengen game. Jungle Hunt. Yes, I have a sealed copy. Now I have a loose one too. Don't want to open up that sealed one. Dig Dug. That's actually not all the 2600 games I have to show you. I got a few more right here next to me. Those are just the ones made by Atari. I think I'll jump into the Activision games next, and, well, one of these isn't really an Activision game, and I'll show you that first. Here is a Blue Label iMagic game in the Activision-style cart, and that's Atlantis. Of course, I have a regular Atlantis, so I figure, here's a Blue Label. I'm going to hold that because that's interesting. For those not familiar, Activision bought iMagic, and they continue to produce some of those carts, just in the cost-cutting Blue Label style. Speaking of that cost-cutting Blue Label style, here's one more. Here's a copy of Freeway. Of course, I have the traditional picture label Freeway, but I thought it'd be cool to hold on to this too. Yeah, I am dipping into that rabbit hole, the label variants on the 2600 games, but Atari 2600 games are just so darn cheap, it's hard to resist all these different things. And I previously only had a Blue Label of this one, but now I've got a picture label. It's not pretty looking, but I got Jay Brown's copy of Enduro. I don't know who Jay Brown was, but that was his copy at one point in time, apparently. And the last Activision game I'm showing you is Decathlon. And you know what? The Atari games, they keep on coming. Here is a copy of Hubert. And here's an interesting one, Title Match Pro Wrestling. As you know, I do collect the wrestling games, not unlike the pinball games and the bowling games. It's just one of those things. Now moving on to some M Network Atari 2600 games. We got Adventures of Tron with the white label. Can you see that? Or is it too washed out? I can't tell. And we got Burger Time. Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah. International Soccer, and last, Super Challenge Football. I always see the baseball one. I don't see the football one anywhere as often. And one last, yes, one last Atari 2600 game to show you. Actually, I can kind of say this is two 2600 games, really, because it is one of the Zonox double-enders. You know, I can make some kind of double-ender joke, you know, but that'd be a little perverse. But anyway, this is Chuck Norris Super Kicks. Could have a little Super Kick party with that one. And Artillery Duel. They've made a few different ones, and I think Artillery Duel was on a bunch of them, and I think Super Kicks may have been on a bunch of them too. I've never owned one of these before. Amusingly enough, in the lot where I got this, I actually got a double of this, so now I have it twice. Speaking of doubles, part of the reason I've been standing up in a lot of my videos lately is because tucked in the corner over here, I've got a box that's about knee-high next to me, filled with Atari 2600 games that are doubles to me. And yeah, that's just, they're getting so overwhelming, they're beginning to walk away. And moving on, I got one Famicom game to show you. And this is a kind of an interesting one if you ask me. This is Superstar Pro Wrestling. This is an interesting game because here in America, WCW released a game called WCW World Championship Wrestling. And basically all they did was reskin the characters in this to be the WCW wrestlers. And it's pretty bad because the characters in this game were actual wrestlers. I believe it was an All Japan licensed game, even though it never said All Japan on it. But most of the wrestlers on the roster for this were in All Japan, I believe, around the time that this game came out, if I'm not mistaken. You know, people like Stan Hansen, Vader, Giant Baba, Antonio Inoki. I think Inoki's more of a New Japan guy, but whatever. You probably don't know who any of those people are unless you're nuts about wrestling. But still, it's a cool game because I always liked that WCW game. It was number 2 on my top 5 NES wrestling titles. And here is the original version of it. Now I got a handful of N64 titles. I got a copy of Yoshi's Story. I've always wanted to play this. And then Mickey's Speedway USA. Pretty cool. Chopper Attack. This was owned by a guy named Tony S. for a while. I don't know who he is, but I've got your game now. And another wrestling game here, WCW NWO Revenge. I think I have all of the THQ wrestling games that came out on the N64 now. Last thing I am showing you is I got a Super Retrocade. This is another thing you probably saw on Instagram or the Facebook page. I've been playing it a little bit. As you can tell, my last review was actually footage of a game on this, and a review of a game that is featured on this. And from what little I've played, I've only played about 4 different games on it. I'm impressed so far. I'm definitely going to be giving this a full review, but it probably will be not until sometime in February. I just want to take the time to put these games through their paces. However, that does mean that I might actually be reviewing a couple other games that do appear on this already. So that could be very interesting, and that's what I got to show you this time around. I hope you've enjoyed this month's pickups. Happy 2018, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.